I'd like to call to order the City Council meeting for Monday, August 10th. Everybody can stand for a pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the United States of America, and to
America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
for all.
Sorry.
Roll call.
First District Councilwoman Monica Gonzalez. Here. Second District Councilman Lenny Francisci. Third District Councilman Terrence Hill. Fourth District Councilwoman Stacy Winfield.
Present.
Sixth District Councilwoman Gilda Orange.
Present.
Councilman at Large Dwayne Rancifer.
Present.
Councilman at Large Emiliano Perez. Councilman at Large Kenneth Monroe.
You said President.
Council President Robert Garcia.
President, Clerk, can you also put down that Lenny Francisci called me? He couldn't make it today.
Okay.
Any minutes of the meeting?
Yes, regular meeting Monday, June 22nd, 2020, and regular meeting Monday, June 13th, 2020.
Is there a motion on the floor? So moved, Mr. President. Is there a second? Second. Motion's been first, second by Monica Guzman. Any questions? Roll call.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Winfield.
Yes.
Orange.
Yes.
Rancifer.
Yes.
Perez. Monroe.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes. Did you do both meetings there, Vivian?
Yes.
Any communications from the mayor? Vivian?
I don't have anything.
Communication from the department heads?
Yes, accounts payable warrant 07282022, 072920, I'm sorry, 072820CC, 072920CC, 081020CC.
Is there a motion on the floor? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Gilda Orange. Second.
Second.
Second by Monica Guzman. Any questions? Any no questions, roll call.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Winfield.
Yes.
Orange.
Yes.
Rancifer.
Yes.
Perez.
Yes.
Monroe.
Yes.
Garcia.
No.
Payroll warrant monthly 073120.
Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Perez, second by Councilwoman Guzman. Any questions? Hearing no questions, roll call.
Gonzalez. Yes. Hill.
Yes.
Winfield.
Yes.
Orange.
Yes.
Rancifer.
Yes.
Perez. Monroe. Garcia.
Yes.
Deputy Chief Rivera.
Jose Rivera, Deputy Chief, East Chicago Police Department. I just wanted to discuss a couple things in reference to some of the changes we made with the PD. At the last meeting, I discussed how to supplement patrol, we did some moving around of our detective bureaus, our gang unit, even our administration, so that we can actually answer some of these high call volumes that the patrol division is having. It's something that's common every summer. The call volumes go up from about mid-May to late September, then it comes back down. The patrol division, since last year when we started getting a little short-staffed, they were given permission to hire overtime to cover that short staff. So at no point should they ever be short-staffed, because they can not only hire, they can also have the authorization to force over officers to meet the numbers, the minimum staffing of 8. But to supplement that, we've also moved some of our detectives over to assist on these high call volumes, especially since we've had shootings during daytime. We've had shootings on 311s. So with the detective bureaus from the gang unit, our crime scene, and gang and narcotics, we're covering different shifts. And that includes myself. So myself, the chief, the commander, we're also changing our shifts. One thing that was brought to my attention was that I guess there was a detective and some of the FOP administration was, or the FOP board was upset about the move or the assignment. And they wanted to bring it up to the council regarding that new assignment. And I just want to remind you guys, that falls under day-to-day operation, and that in our general orders for the policy for the East Chicago Police Department, it actually states that a detective is also and always will be a policeman. So they can't complain if they're reassigned. They're always a policeman. So I can any given time say, you're wearing this uniform, you're going down the streets. That is nothing to be discussed. That is actually nothing that anyone can do about, because it's actually an administrative decision. So it's almost like a waste of time. It's something that they might want to negotiate. We're not budging. If I could put my uniform on and work afternoons or midnights, so can a detective. We're not going to budge on that. They have options. And one of them is they're not going to sit behind that desk and hide. So we just want to bring that out, that I know that some weren't happy. I had a heart-to-heart with them today, this morning. They were given options, but they were reminded, one, there's a chain of command, that if they have an issue with assignments, that is not to be discussed with anybody except the chain of command. Once they break that chain of command, it's actually punishable. So I don't want them to get any further trouble by discussing with you guys our day-to-day operations. It is actually in our policy. They have to follow chain of command. If they have an issue with an assignment, if they have an issue with a lateral move, that's not something they can discuss with the council. They have to discuss with us first. We can authorize them, but that falls into day-to-day operations. And I bring this up is because sometimes they talk about things with members of the council or even members in the community that they shouldn't. And they can actually risk investigations. They're actually impeding investigations by doing that. By letting everybody know who's out at what time, it's actually impeding our investigations. So if I have extra officers or detectives assigned in the daytime, that's not something I'm going to put out there all the time. If I have extra guys in the afternoon around midnights, I'm not going to divulge that information all the time. And I think that they forgot, so we had to remind them today. You know, so if they are discussing that with you guys, or if they're trying to negotiate with that, we're just asking that they are sent back to us to discuss that. They can discuss salary, benefits. That's perfectly fine. But day-to-day operations is non-negotiable. That is something they have to sit down and talk with us about. There's a reason why we're doing it. We don't always have to even explain that to them. We're not going to all the time. It's an assignment. So I know some were upset. They brought it up. I've already addressed it with them. Not one of them said anything to me. They had the floor. So if they didn't want to say it to me, they don't have the right to discuss it with you guys. So, but if they do, there will be discipline. That is day-to-day operations. I want them to be reminded. They were told today. I just wanted so that you guys know if they do come to you guys about the day-to-day operations, they're to refer back to us, because we have policies in place that they have to follow a chain of command. And unless we authorize them to talk about it, they cannot. That is under our policy. They have a freedom of speech to an extent. They still have to follow policy. So we know that they have been discussing it with several members. That's fine, but we wanted to stop, because now it's gotten our attention, and it's starting to become an issue. So they were explaining that today. They know their chain of command. They know who to talk to. But if they do bring it up, that's something that we were asking you guys to refer them right back to us. If they're not talking about benefits and salary, everything else has to be referred back to us. So that's the only information I have. You guys have any questions?
Any questions?
I just have a comment.
Yes.
I just want to thank, because I know Deputy Chief came here last week to explain everything that was going on, and I don't think we had any questions at that time either, but I know I have total trust in the brass and what you guys are doing, because, I mean, really being proactive and knowing that, okay, we might be short, then we need to maneuver some people around to cover it. So I think that's great.
And just in addition, we just had a testing, an emergency hire testing this weekend. We had 6 certified officers actually apply. They passed the test. They passed physical agility. Next week, we're going to move forward with the merit board to start the interview process. Once they do the interview process, probably within a month, we should have them hired. Of those 6, only 3 have to go through a field training program. The other 3 are going to do a condensed version, which means maybe a few weeks, and then they're on the road. So we'll have 6 actually certified officers from other departments and from the academy that are already certified should be hired hopefully in the next month. And again, some of our shortage is because we do have 3 on military leave and 3 on suspension. That plays a big role when they're off on patrol. But we do supplement that with overtime, forced overtime or volunteer, as well as the way we maneuver our guys from different divisions. So at no point should the streets be not covered. There's no excuse for it because we're allowing the lieutenants and sergeants to hire. We've never stopped that. I've been up here almost a little bit over a year now. We've never stopped it. They're allowed to work. They're allowed to hire, and they're allowed to force over if need be. It's not a popular decision, but this isn't McDonald's. We're actually about public safety, so if that means I have to force someone to cover the streets, we have to. We can't allow 4 guys to call off on a shift and then not cover that. Has to be covered. So again, it's not a popular decision. That's something that we like to do, but for public safety purposes, we have to. So, and it's not something that's brand new either. I've been on 22 years. It's been going on before me. I've been forced over myself. So I understand the burden, but it's not an everyday thing, and we do have a process to make it fair. So there is a list of how we force people over. It's not going to be the same guy all the time. There's actually a list by seniority, and we go down that line. So it's not going to be that same person being forced every day. So there is a list. So again, if that's something they complain about, again, bring them back to us. And we'll remind them.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a comment.
Yes.
I'm glad that you came today, Deputy Chief, and cleared this up. I've also been in contact with Mr. Buscemi to drop a resolution saying that no council person can speak for the other 8 of us. Police officer came by my house and said, "Why are you guys mad at the detective bureau?" And the council president said, that's what he said, the council president said that the whole council was mad at the administration because the detectives had to go out. Now, I can't speak for nobody else in the council, but nobody speaks for me. And when I do, I speak for myself and myself alone. Nobody is allowed to speak for us unless we go to collectively and say that we agree on the subject and everybody is in tune to that subject, and we all agree that a statement should be put out. If indeed a statement is being put out, it should only be for that person that's talking, not for this whole council. And several police officers have said that. It's not just the one. But I want to get that clear, and I have asked Mr. Buscemi to do a resolution because there's no way that anybody, I don't care if I've been president before and other people have been president, we don't speak for all the council. If we have an executive session and we want somebody to speak for us, then we get that person as a spokesperson. And I'm glad that you did come up and clarify that today. I know that in the past, I know when Chief Becker was there, I know that all the detectives had to come out. Every day they came out and was part of the solution because we had so many pop-up problems. And I'm glad that you did come up to clarify that today.
Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm along with Councilwoman Gilda, and this is my first time ever hearing about it. But I know everything you said, it should be true, because everything need to go according to protocol, and that's an administrative decision, and we should have nothing to do with that. I haven't heard of anything, but as Councilwoman said, nobody speaks for me either. I know this ain't the first time that has happened.
It was brought to my attention, and it gives them a false sense of hope.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your
Something's going to
service.
get done, when actually our policy states, we dictate that. So I don't want to give them this false sense of hope that someone's going to save them and say, we're going to save you from this assignment. No, you can't. So I just want to let them know, they were reminded today, if I give an assignment, that's your assignment. The Blue Book specifically states, you are always a policeman, from the chief down. So there is no argument there. The only argument would be if they want to leave the job. That's it. That's the option. You can't tell me I don't want to be the police today. So they were put on notice, so they understand. But I just want to.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
I got to clarify some stuff because some things were said were untrue. No words came out of my mouth stating that. So, Councilwoman Orange, I think you should know about when somebody comes with you with hearsay is gossip. Unless you heard it from me, I was never told no officer that this council was upset at nobody. So let that be said today. So I support the PD. I'm happy he has them officers in the streets, them detectives in the streets, because that's where we need them. So at no time has I told anybody, and I hate to say that people want to gossip and then bring it up here to the council. You know, come to me. Come to me and ask me, Robert, did you say this or did you say that? I will let you know. But at no time did I tell no officer, or no officers came to me about that. So rest assured, Officer Rivera, no officers came to me. I'm pretty sure no officers came to nobody on this council to complain about anything. You know, so no officer ever came to me talking about that at all whatsoever. So just be careful what people out there saying. People like out there to start just gossip and like to start trouble. That's all it is.
Well, I'm just glad it was clarified.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any committee reports? No board reports? Any ordinance on first reading?
Yes. Ordinance 20-0013, sponsored Councilman Terrence Hill. An ordinance prohibiting the use of groundwater as a potable water supply by the installation or use of potable water supply wells or by any other means.
Is there a motion on the floor?
I make a motion, could I make a motion for on first and second reading?
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Orange. Any questions?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I asked Mr. Hill, would someone be here to speak on that? And I don't know if he's there.
Yes, Mr. Hill is here.
I'm here, but he's not here in the, Mr.
I asked if I guess Allegretti Attorney Allegretti asked him to speak. I was trying to see if he was available.
Excuse me, Mr. President.
Yes.
He's not here in the room here. I don't know if he's on Zoom. But, okay.
Yes, Attorney Morgan.
Yes, I can answer questions on it. Do you all?
Yes, please.
All right, so there are other communities that have ordinances that prohibit the use of their groundwater. It was kind of surprising to find out a few years ago that Chicago didn't have that ordinance. I talked to IDEM about it starting in 2017 when IDEM started their groundwater study, which is a calumet. So it's part of their cleanup because residents had complained about their concern that groundwater was coming into their basements, and they thought, and the EPA hasn't finished studying it. They're in the middle of the groundwater study that started in 2017. But some residents thought that some slimy or black substances in their basement could be related to contaminated groundwater. So as EPA, we don't know when they're going to finish this groundwater study. They have wells dug through Calumet. So as like a preventative measure, we had discussed for a while doing an ordinance like this so that we will protect people from something we don't even do. Nobody in Chicago probably for 100 years has used well water for drinking water, but we just wanted to get out ahead of it to protect people just in case that the EPA does find that there's a serious problem with the groundwater. But because we, again, for city water for drinking water, for showers and all that. But we wanted to just make absolutely sure that nobody would come along and do that. And it's relevant now because the development is coming to the 3rd district, that we didn't want to have to do something like restricted covenants on those properties to say, hey, for this particular house, you can't use groundwater, when really it's citywide that, we've had so much industry for so long, it just doesn't make sense for somebody to say, hey, I want to be off the grid and use groundwater for my drinking water. So that's why it's citywide, although the quickest development is coming in Councilman Hill's district. But so we just wanted to get ahead of a problem that we hope we never really materializes, but that's kind of it. I can ask some more questions if you want about the EPA and the groundwater study or why this is necessary. Or if you want more information from IDEM or communities who have this, we could have IDEM give us some of this.
Any other questions?
That actually helped with the understanding. He kind of explained it to me, but I thought it should be explained from you all to everyone. And looking at groundwater, I've just been experiencing looking at groundwater recently.
Yeah.
So that's why that was my question. That's why I was concerned. And making sure everybody just understood exactly what was going on for us that's new on the ground.
This, even though it had been talked about in light of like at the EPA meetings and stuff, this is the first time it had been brought to the council that I know.
Any other questions? Ms. Morgan, just when the EPA finishes that study, can you make sure the council gets a copy of that, please?
Check in with them to see the status of it. Every time I ask, they say it's ongoing. They won't give us a deadline for when they're going to have some reports, but there's also reports from the ATSDR, the health, after the EPA that we've been waiting on since updates for about a year and a half. So as soon as I get each of those, I'll share them with the council.
Thank you. Any other questions? Roll call.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Winfield?
Yes.
Orange?
Yes.
Ransifer?
Yes.
Perez?
Yes.
Monroe?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes. Motion passed. Any ordinance on second or third reading?
No. There is a consideration of ordinance 20-0008 vetoed by the mayor. An ordinance of the Common Council of the City of East Chicago, Indiana, establishing the 2020 homeowner storm relief program as implemented.
Is there a motion?
By Councilman Emiliano Perez.
Excuse me. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Gonzalez. Second.
Second.
Any questions on the motion?
Yeah, Mr. President, what is we voting on right now? Breaking up on.
Can you repeat his question?
Mr. Monroe's question is, what are we voting on? We're voting on the ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Chicago establishing the 2020 homeowner storm relief program as amended. Mr. Monroe, you here? Okay. All right. Any questions? Hearing no questions, roll call.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Winfield?
Yes.
Orange?
No.
Ransifer?
Yes.
Perez?
Yes.
Monroe?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes. Motion passed 7-1. Any resolutions?
Yes, resolution 20-0009, sponsored Councilman Robert Garcia. Resolution of the East Chicago Common Council approving amendments to the declaratory resolution for the lakefront redevelopment areas.
Is there a motion? Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilwoman Orange. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Gonzalez. I asked Mr. Morris Road to come so he could explain this here. Mr. Morrisville, and we also have the owner of the company, Mr. Marshall, here.
I will briefly Richard Morris, acting city planner. I will briefly introduce the key person for the Carl Sender firm, which has worked with the city, with Mr. Jim Bennett, and with other people from the city. This has to do with Chrome, which is located, Chrome LLC, located on Michigan Avenue. They brought to life a firm. Mr. Bill Marsh is here. He and his father have moved here from Philadelphia. They brought a steel processing plant, as well as brought other services to that facility on Michigan Avenue. They are considering and proposing to build, they hope, 2 buildings, but we're looking at one of them now. And Steve, if I may, since it goes to the finances, it was approved at the last, not the last, but about 3 weeks ago at the Plan Commission meeting. It seems like a good proposal, and would ask your consideration and your endorsement for this resolution.
Council, Steve Dalton, financial advisor to the council, but as you know, we also are financial advisors to the Redevelopment Commission. Carl Sender, my partner, worked on this project with Chrome LLC. I want to kind of give you the basics in layman's terms. There is a large TIF, for lack of a better term, allocation area is the real term, but a TIF, tax increment financing area, called the Lakefront District, Lakefront Redevelopment Area. And this parcel, which is located at 3600 Michigan Avenue, sits within that TIF. This action in front of you that's already been approved by the Redevelopment Commission once, it's already been approved by the Plan Commission as fitting into the comprehensive plan of the city, comes to you for your approval to move back for a second vote to the Redevelopment Commission to confirm. This proposal asks to take that specific parcel, one parcel, out of the lakefront redevelopment area and set up a new lakefront redevelopment area number 2, for lack of a better term. And it will be used to assist in an incentive program for Chrome LLC. The petitioner's here, and you probably should ask him questions about his specific business. He'll know it better than I will. We support it because we feel like whenever there's incentive offered to a business, it should be highly targeted. We would hate to see a parcel on the opposite side of the city used to give incentive to this side of the city or for this parcel. So this is a highly targeted incentive plan for just this business. Their property taxes will be collected and their personal property taxes will be collected to incentivize their specific project. So we support this as both your financial advisors to the council and the Redevelopment Commission. Would you like to
introduce Mr. Marsh?
come up, Mr. Marsh, please? I've not actually met Mr. Marsh, so this is our first time to meet each other.
Mr. Bill Marsh.
This is the business owner of Chrome.
Yes.
Good to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Mr. Marsh, if you could state your name, please.
Yeah, William Marsh. My primary company is American Bar Products, and I'm the steel operator from Pennsylvania. We moved into East Chicago about 5 years ago, and we've been in business since 2003. My equity partner is my father, so he's retired. He's been retired. He remains retired, but he remains interested in the project. I don't think, Mr. Garcia, you've met my father. Perhaps you have. He's here from time to time, just kind of checking in. But in any case, I'm the main operator and have been. We've got a really fun business. We make steel bars. And I'm proud of that for a lot of reasons. My background is in engineering and finance. Before I got into steel, I was an investment banker in London. So I had slick hair, I had fancy shoes, and I flew first class around the world. And look at me today. I got steel toes. My hair now after today's job is full of dirt, it's full of grit, and I am dirty. But I wear the same clothes except my undergarments every day. But I'm happy. I love my job, and I love what I do. And you might say, well, why did you come out here to East Chicago, Indiana, all the way from Pennsylvania? Because I can tell you one thing, Moving a company is much harder than starting a company. I've done both, and moving it is difficult. Moving it from Pennsylvania, where we had a really nice thing going on, was tough to do. You might say, well, why did you come to East Chicago, Indiana? And it's funny, as I was sitting in the gallery there, looking up, I looked at your seal. What does it say up at the top? It says industrious. Industrious. And I like to think, and I like to encourage myself to be like that. And the reason that we moved here from Pennsylvania is because the East Coast doesn't appreciate manufacturers. They'd rather see people in fancy shoes and ties and that kind of thing. So our customers started disappearing. Our primary supplier disappeared, and we were fighting a losing battle. We wanted to be located in a place that knew manufacturing, but more important, loved manufacturing. And I can say since we moved in, we found that to be true right here. And that's what we were promised when we were looking at moving. We looked at moving all over the Midwest. I studied for 7 years where we should move our company. We picked here because of its location, because of its history, and because the promises we were made that it would be a good place to do business. And I can tell you, nobody here has let me down. It's been great. And what we promised to the city when we were talking about moving in is that we would be good neighbors. What does that mean? I'm not sure if you remember what our facility looked like when we bought it. We bought it in 2014, and it was pretty dilapidated. It was falling down. It was really ugly. If you look at some of the old Google pictures, although I think they've refreshed a lot of them, if you look at some of the Google Earth pictures, you'll see what it used to look like, and it was ugly. There was no vegetation. There were weeds everywhere. The panels were falling off. The building was multicolored, and it looked like a lot of derelict buildings. And that's not how we like to run our operation. If you go by that facility today, I think you'll see something very different. You'll see a building that, in my eyes, is beautiful. Maybe not everybody thinks an industrial building is beautiful, but I do. If you look at the front yard, sadly, you'll see a lot of these on the ground. You know what these are? These are Asian pears. Now, before I moved out here into Indiana, I had a little piece of property in Pennsylvania, and I like almost as much as I like manufacturing, I like to grow things, whether it's fruit or animals. I love it. And my friends always said, why are you in steel? You should be a farmer. But I figured out here, I've got 30 acres in East Chicago. And let me tell you something, you guys have good sand out here, and that property's clean. So I thought, you know what I'm going to do? Not only am I going to plant some fruit trees, sadly, this is here because the storm we just had knocked all of my Asian pears off the tree, except like 5, which is a bit of a disappointment because it's a lean fruit year. But anyway, we're growing fruit. The other thing that I'll point out before I tell you a little bit more about what we're going to do with the property is you'll notice there's grass now in the front yard, whereas before I moved there, it was nothing but slag. I'm pretty sure that I'm the only individual, maybe on earth, that can grow grass on slag. But I also grow fruit in slag. And you might say, well, how do you do that? You do that by raising chickens. Chickens are a magical animal. They will repair almost any soil. So I brought for the council a box of eggs. There's a couple layers in there. These are from the chickens, and the city was kind enough to allow us to have a small coop because if I have chickens and I have wood chips, I can remediate, I can grow, I can turn things green. So I want you to know I'm not just a steel guy, but I'm also a nature guy. I like chickens, I like animals, I like to share. I got plenty of eggs, and I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago when I was here presenting, I brought in some peaches, and the peaches were pretty good, but they've all kind of gone now. So that's the property. And what I want to express to you is that I take my commitment to the city very seriously. We want to be a good neighbor, and I hope we have been a good neighbor. East Chicago, I'm a believer, and that's why I brought my business out here. When I moved out, I was really only looking to move my steel business, but we saw this property and saw a big opportunity. It was 30 acres, it was 100,000 square feet, and I only needed 30, but we thought this is a great place. And if it's going to work for us, it's going to work for other people. So we committed to the city, we committed to the building. We filled the facilities with good users, with good corporate users who have all been, in my mind, very good counterparties. And with what's going on in Illinois, the unfriendliness of that state, it makes Indiana shine even more than it normally would. And it makes East Chicago look even better than it normally would because they're really struggling over there. What I learned in real estate, and I'm only 5 years into an industrial real estate career now, is that it's easy to fill a good building if it's there, but it's very difficult to fill a building that's not there. If there's an empty lot and you bring on a user and say, close your eyes, imagine there's a really nice building there, they can't do it, and it doesn't work. So I determined about a year ago that whether or not I had a user, I would build a building. because I believe that much in Indiana, I believe that much in East Chicago, and it's a great property. With the 912 being put back into use, we're at a perfect location, and the economy and manufacturing was on the rails about 5 months ago. We had our best first quarter ever, and then you know what happened, but we're getting back. So we decided to build a building, and just about the time we decided to build a building, I got a phone call. And in business, it's far better to be, or at least as good to be lucky as it is to be good. And I had a person who said, we need a building, and we need it right away. The great news is it's a neighbor of ours. It's Randall Metals Corporation, who sits right behind us. They're a big company, well-established, great operations, good people, and they're growing. They need to expand. So it made our effort of putting up a new building immediately successful because now we have a user. The building is going to be 120,000 square feet. The color is going to be the same as our existing building. We're going to continue to pretty up that plot of land so it looks good. And we're very hopeful that once this building is erected and filled by Randall Metals, we'll begin looking at putting up another building because we are in the best spot for manufacturers. And there's a lot of guys like me who believe in our industry, who believe in Indiana, who believe in the United States, and we want to put people back to work. And that's what I'm here to do. And I wanted to introduce myself, my company, to thank East Chicago for being such a good home to me, and ask you to ask me any questions you might have, and also to deliver my eggs, which you'll have to share amongst yourselves.
Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Yes.
I know you have an existing building, correct?
Sir.
Yeah, I know you. I'll tell you afterwards. Anyway, now you all are building another building.
Correct.
Okay, because I was going to ask what was going on over there, because I stopped and talked to a gentleman, and he was a president of the union. And he said this company here is a non-union company that's operating, which now they're
Mr.
building
Hill?
another building.
You, just for correction, it might have been that other location down the street.
No,
that's the other location.
Oh, that's the other location.
That's the other location.
Yeah, okay, because your building has been there for a while.
No, we did.
Yeah, right. Now, what's the workforce? What's your workforce like?
Well, I'll tell you.
Anybody from East Chicago works there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I don't know the addresses of everybody off the top of my head. I can certainly send it to you, but we did have a union official come on the property.
Oh, no, disregard that first question.
Okay,
It was the block away.
I'm happy.
The block away, because I know your building.
Yeah.
I know your building.
Yeah. The occupant of the new building will be Randall Metals, so it won't be my company that's going to be in the new building. But it'll be Randall Metals who is already in East Chicago, and they're expanding their operation.
Your building, the new building is being dug up right now.
Correct.
The other one's already framed.
Yeah, the other one's all framed out.
Right.
The other one's all framed
Gotcha.
out.
So disregard that first question.
That's okay. I'm happy to cover anything.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
Steve Dalton, though.
Yes, ma'am.
Steve, is this a new TIF or is this an existing TIF that's rolled over into this business?
This will be a new TIF. This will be a carve-out of the existing lakefront TIF and a new TIF created out of that one parcel called Lakefront 2.
Because I was under the impression that we weren't doing any more TIFs.
This is a request to create a new TIF in front of you. So if that impression was given, this is a new TIF.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
When you were on that committee, we talked about this, I think at a council meeting about allowing more TIFs to come in. I know this is in your area, but is that your assumption that it's okay for another TIF to come in?
Yeah, they were operating the TIF already, so to me, it's just them taking out and coming back in. So to me, it's okay.
I think one way to look at it, Council Lady, is that it doesn't add any net property. We have this specific parcel already exists in a TIF. It's just being pulled out to be dedicated to this specific use as a separate TIF.
And Steve, what is their savings on this TIF? I mean,
You know, I don't actually have the savings piece. Is the incentive package even been put together yet? The part in front of you guys right now is the formation of the allocation area, which has been approved by the Redevelopment Commission and the Plan Commission. I don't know that the incentive package is finalized with the city. I don't think the incentive package is finalized with the city, so I don't know the answer to that question, Council Lady.
So they have to come back before us with incentives?
If there were to be bonds issued, TIF bonds, you would have to approve them. If there were to be dollars abated, you would have to approve it. Those are the two most common types of incentives.
And so then now, you can step back, Steve, and then I can talk to the owner.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, are you asking for any type of incentives or tax abatements or any tips that would require us to do any bonds?
Well, you're getting into, I'm a great steel operator, and I could talk all night about what's happening in steel, and I'm okay at industrial real estate, but when we get into the nitty-gritty of the TIF, that's where I'll have to rely on my agents. So I can't tell you exactly what the structure of the request is going to be. As I understand it, we have 30 acres, and it's currently in a TIF. We're going to take 5 acres out of that 30 and just put it in its own little TIF. So there's no net addition or subtraction. It's just carving one little piece out of an already allocated TIF zone. And I apologize, but I am not the one to ask on the structural mechanics or the bonds or how exactly it works. I apologize for that. I wouldn't want to give you information and be completely wrong, which I could be.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Councilman Perez.
Steve, there still has to be a benefit to removing it from the TIF, to put it back in the TIF,
Here's what's going to come to you at some point in time in the future is a request, most likely for TIF financing that would be dedicated to only this parcel. You'll recall 5-6 years ago we did the hoist lift project. Only that parcel pays taxes to support that specific bond. It's not other parcels, other redevelopment areas, it's only that parcel. That would be the most logical incentive package that would come to this specific use. And to do that, we would need to pull it out to stand by itself so that it can be tracked all by itself.
But this parcel has already received a TIF benefit.
This parcel is not getting any benefit at all. The redevelopment commission is getting TIF, which would be increment dollars. And you'll recall that TIF is the difference between base and current value. So if this parcel over some period of time has gone up in value, those taxes being collected above the base are currently being deposited in the redevelopment commission allocation area called the lakefront area. What we're doing is taking it out of that lakefront area, setting up as a separate lakefront 2 to create an incentive package for this project that the developer is bringing to you that would just benefit this specific parcel, not the overarching area.
And I know you're in a tough spot tonight because you're speaking for Sender and you represent us. However, don't you think there's value in getting the whole package the way they want it before we took a vote on this?
Yeah, and I may be the holdup on that because it's entirely possible that my partner knows the answer to all those questions and I don't. So it may be that I'm the one holding up the fact that there's already quite a bit of conversation going on there. All I can speak to is the fact that the only request in front of you is setting up the TIF. It's not the specific incentive package.
Any other questions?
I have another question.
Yes.
Councilman Perez brought up the thing with Steve being our representative and redevelopment. I don't want anybody to think that this is conflict of interest. So is this conflict of interest?
Only if I give you advice that disagrees with advice I give to the redevelopment commission, I guess. Mr. Buscemi?
And what is this specific question?
Is it a conflict of interest for Steve to be the, to advise you the redevelopment, also advising the council?
No, in my opinion, I don't believe that the commission and the interests of the city council are one and the same. Those interests and those duties of both the redevelopment commission and the city council are to advance the best interest of the city, and based on what I've heard tonight, which is the only information that I have, I don't believe it's a conflict of interest in any way.
Okay, thank you.
Steve, just to make sure I heard it correct, so the TIF, whatever collected, is just going to go back into the company.
Well, here's how that normally works. The city does not have any interest in taking the risk on behalf of any type of financing that would accrue to the company. So typically, the company finds its own financing source and buys the bonds themselves. So what will actually happen is they'll get a property tax bill, they'll pay taxes, and those taxes will be collected by the city and will be returned to them as bond payments.
So there's no risks to the city?
The only risk to the city, no, there's no risk at all to the city. The only risk to the developer is that they're not paying enough in to get enough back. There's no risk at all to the city.
Just to let everybody know, I visited this site. I was born and raised in that area. That was part of the steel mills. And as soon as all the steel mills left, that was a pretty bad area. Everything was falling off. Mr. Marshall came in and worked with the city and got that building back up. It's like brand new, you know. And I encourage my council to visit, but he brought that property back up. He's got chicken, he's got cherry trees, he's got a lot of trees up there. But here's an individual that is coming in and investing in East Chicago, and I think that's a great thing. Any other question?
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
As it's my understanding, I could be wrong and corrected, but Chrome will pay the property tax, a portion of which will be returned to Chrome. And what happens to Chrome is I don't take the money and pocket it, because property taxes aren't paid by Chrome. They're not paid by Chrome. That's a pass-through expense to my tenant. So I am actually not the beneficiary of the request per se. It's the user. So any TIF grant enhances the business opportunity for the user, if that makes sense. I just wanted to be clear that whatever money comes back to Chrome, I'm not going out and buying a Ferrari. Is that fair to say? Okay.
Not even enough to get a Ferrari.
Right.
Any other questions? Here, no questions, roll call?
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Benfield,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Ransford,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes. Motion passed. Any old business? Any old business? Deputy Chief Rivera, I think last month our attorney sent a letter of reference to crime stats. Just trying to see what's the update on that. Okay. Thank you. Any other old business? New business? Yes, Councilwoman Gonzalez?
I just want to make an announcement. First District is having a community meeting at Todd Park on Thursday, the 12th, at 5 p.m. at Todd Park. We're asking anybody from the First District to please come out. There's going to be some information given. We're going to have a representative from the police department and also code enforcement. We ask that you bring your mask and a chair and welcome everyone to the First District to come out. Councilwoman
Gonzalez, thank you for that. I want to thank the police department. There's been quite a few community meetings, and they're more than happy to attend and answer any questions. I think this PD is proactive of going out to the community and answering any questions that they have. But thank you, Councilwoman Gonzalez. Any other new business? Public expression, any public expression? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move, Mr. President.
Motion. Yes, Miss Winfield.
I would just like to ask if we can give a moment of silence for two people that, I'm gonna call them legends that was in our city, and that's Armando Randy Gomez and Miss Joyce Barnett. She's a teacher in the Chicago school system for 43 years. If we take a moment of silence for those two.
Thank you. Thank you. There's a motion on the floor by Councilman Hill to adjourn. There's a second.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Gonzalez. Any questions? Roll call.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Winfield, yes. Horn,
Yes.
Langford,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes. He said.
Garcia.
Yes. Meeting adjourned.